Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silvermont, and I apologise if my voice sounds weirder than usual. I've got the flu, and all that nasty stuff. But let's talk a little about From Software and their upcoming titles. As I'm sure you're no doubt aware, they recently gave us the Shadows Die Twice teaser. Originally I wasn't going to make a video about a 30-second teaser, as I didn't much see the point. I was going to wait for something a little more substantial that I can actually analyse properly. But now we've had the Dark Souls 1 Remaster announced too, so let's talk a little about those two, and what it means for this channel as well. Starting with Shadows Die Twice. I really don't have much to say on this, but a lot of people have been asking what I think, my opinions. Sure, why not? And well, a lot of other people are hoping this is going to be Bloodborne 2, whether this literally means a sequel to Bloodborne, or a Bloodborne 2 in the sense of a new Souls-style game in a different setting. My personal thinking on the matter is that it has something to do with Tenchu, wherein Rikimaru, I can't pronounce Japanese names, I'm sorry. He's always going on about his shadows, but my knowledge of Tenchu is spotty at best. So, is it Tenchu? Is it something new? Is it Bloodborne 2, literally in Yharnam? We'll find out soon. Some bring up the point, why would they release a short teaser for something unless it's a sequel to Bloodborne? Who cares about Tenchu? But I'm not really inclined to agree with that logic. Still, if it is Tenchu, what do you think? Are we going to get a Tenchu reboot? Is it some other Asian-themed game? Last year, Koei released Nioh, which was essentially Samurai Souls. Maybe From are working on something like that too. The calligraphy or font in the background of the teaser made me think of the Far East, but that was just how I took it. What do you think? What do you want it to be? What do you expect it to be? E3 is in June, and there's a chance we'll hear more about it there. If not, the Tokyo Game Show is a bit later in the year. From typically do their own thing though, so they could honestly spring it on us at any point, like they have with Dark Souls Remaster, springing it on us when I sound incredibly nasally and it's making me cringe listening back to this, quite honestly. More so than usual. They didn't announce any platforms, so we have no way of knowing if this is an exclusive or multi-plat for the time being. That's for Shadows Die Twice, by the way. Until we get something more to dig into, I think I'll leave it at that. But yes, I'm very interested to learn what it is. And yes, speaking of things popping up without much warning, we recently had the Dark Souls Remaster announced. It was leaked a day or so before without any details, and the reveal trailer didn't really tell us much, but here's a few things we know about it, for certain. It's coming out May 25th, 2018 for PS4, Xbox One, Switch and PC. The Switch version is targeting 30 FPS, and all the others are targeting 60 FPS. There'll be servers and passwords for the online, and 6-player sessions, essentially bringing it in line with Dark Souls 3. Last year I made a video on this very topic, because I really wanted Dark Souls to be re-released so we would have a definitive version. The 360 and PS3 versions had a terrible frame rate, and the PC version was just an abysmal port. But what is this remaster we are getting? For now, we don't have too many details, but I'm sure many more will be coming in the next few weeks and months. Here's the thing, the first Dark Souls doesn't support 60 FPS. You can force the game to run at a higher frame rate on PC with DSFix, but that introduces some issues in the engine. Dark Souls and Demon Souls, we have confirmation that they are running on the Fire engine, that's PHYRE. The other games, we can only guess. Dark Souls 2 was developed on a new engine with more advanced features such as cloth physics and dynamic lighting. Durante and others have speculated that Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne use that same engine from Dark Souls 2 with more advancements. Whatever the case, Dark Souls 2 and 3 support higher frame rates than 30. Bloodborne probably does as well, it's just it wasn't on PC, and it never had a pro patch, so it doesn't. What I'm getting at here is that the remaster is targeting 60 FPS, and there's two main options I see here. A, it's the first game's engine running at 60 FPS. I consider this unlikely because of all the tweaks that would be needed to make this run properly without any glitches. For example, if you're playing at 60 FPS or higher, sometimes you'll get weird issues when you're sliding down ladders or trying to walk up an elevation that normally you would have no issues with, but something to do with doubling the frame rate just causes all these weird issues in the game world, because quite a lot of Japanese games tie the frame rate to the physics or something along the lines of that. I'm not an expert, sorry. On the other hand, we have option B, where we're getting whatever engine was used for Dark Souls 3, which we know can support higher frame rates and more advanced visual effects to be expected from a modern game, a modern remaster as it is. Here's the problem with option B though. Dark Souls 3 doesn't run at 60 FPS on the PS4. If you have a Pro, it will target 60 FPS. If you have an Xbox One X, I assume it's the same case, but on the PS4 Pro, it's around like 40 FPS, 45. Dark Souls 3 was never intended for that on console. It's possible that, 2 years more optimization is at hand to get this remaster running at closer to a locked 60. But remember, they're saying the original Dark Souls ran at 30 FPS, which is being a little generous, to be fair. I mean, yeah, it's at 30 FPS sometimes, but you remember Blighttown, don't you? So maybe their idea of 60 FPS is more like the PS4 Pro's 60 FPS, in quotation marks. That is honestly what I think is going to happen though. The remaster is effectively going to be Dark Souls 1 remade in Dark Souls 3. Does that make sense? That's my guess. Because we're getting the server functionality and online systems, such as passwords, of Dark Souls 3. We had a little taste of how Dark Souls would look in this engine with Anor Londo in the third game. Whether or not that's the case, however, what are you expecting from this remaster? If it's in the 3 gameplay engine, that could have a lot of interesting implications as towards balance, weapon balance, gameplay balance, boss difficulty, mods on PC, and so forth. Just as a short example, imagine you were fighting a Dark Souls 1 boss. Let's say you were fighting Dark Souls 1 Artorias, but using the Dark Souls 3 longsword and stamina management, because you can roll in Dark Souls 3 many more times than you can in Dark Souls 1 before running out of stamina. Things like that. Are they going to make it exactly like Dark Souls 1, where you can roll, say, 5 times before running out of stamina? Or are they going to keep the bosses the same but let you roll a lot more? Because as a knock-on effect, that would make the game somewhat easier. So I'm really interested to see how all this is gonna play out. Then we run into another problem. What bugs should be fixed? Will they restore any content or extend any content? Like Lost Isolith, for example. An interesting idea for an area, but an atrocious level to play through. Some bugs are such a large part of the game that it would feel strange to have them fixed or removed. We know all of the original 9 Covenants are returning, and the fact that they mentioned that struck me as interesting. It wasn't really like a huge selling point of the game. Like, yeah, sure, you would mention there's 9 Covenants, but they've mentioned it so early and so prominently that, I don't know. Are they going to be expanding the Covenants? Will the Gravelord and Princess Guard be updated or changed? I would be fine with them not restoring any of the cut content or adding new stuff, but at the same time, if they did make tweaks to how the Covenants work, I would be down with that. I would be happy if they made some small changes added to the game. such as tweaks to Lost Izalith and New Londo primarily. We'll find out soon though, I hope. And now, to finish up this video, I'm going to talk a little about how this is going to impact my channel. I had the idea in mind for a while to update my Dark Souls 1 lore videos. They get a lot of criticism, rightly so. The number one complaint being, what are you rambling about? Like, yeah, I get that. I really did ramble in those videos. I ramble in this video too, but this is a kind of special situation, so I allow myself to ramble here. But I really had been wanting to remake them, to make them more concise, better, updated with new information, and, you know, just all that good stuff. I had been really hoping for a re-release or a remaster of the first game, and last summer I decided I'd waited long enough, so in 2018 I was going to redo them, re-update them, or whatever. So I recorded a new playthrough on my PC for the new footage, and then less than a week after I released my first new lore video on Solaire, like 3 days after that video came out, they announced a remaster. It's good timing, huh? Part of me totally knew that would happen. Part of me was like, if I start remaking lore videos, they're gonna release the game again, so maybe I should do that to force their hand. You know, I'm not serious, it's just a funny coincidence. But incidentally, I've already finished the next 2 lore videos at time of writing, so I'm gonna release those as normal. After that though, I'm going to wait for the remaster of Dark Souls to come out, so I can do a playthrough, get archived footage of the new engine, unless it looks really ugly somehow, and then continue making the lore videos with that new footage. Plus, there's a chance, a very small chance, they might update the lore, and no matter how small that is, I want to wait and be 100% certain, you know? Maybe they're gonna update some discrepancies. For example, the first game said Gwyndolin was Gwyn's lastborn, but then Dark Souls 3 was like, yeah, no. So I'm really curious if they're going to change anything like that too. I've stuck to my 1 character lore video a month schedule for years now, like almost 50 months I want to say. Quite a few years at this point. But I am going to take a break of a month or 2 whilst I wait for the remaster. I'm still going to be making videos, I'm not taking a break from that, there's just going to be a gap whilst I wait for Dark Souls 1 Remaster, so that I can continue making them using that footage and that information. Does that make sense? I hope you can understand my reasoning there, and don't worry, I've got plenty of other ideas to work on in the meantime instead of that. It's only going to be like, what, 2 videos that it's going to be delayed a little bit, so no worries there. That's it for now though. Thanks so much for watching, listening to me ramble whilst I'm probably drugged up on too much medication, but let me know down in the comments what you think of the remaster and Shadows Die Twice. I'll catch you soon, and I'm really looking forward to making a playthrough of the new remaster at the end of May. Even if I just did record a Let's Play of Dark Souls 1 recently, it's a game where I can keep going back to it after all, and if they are remaking the whole game in the Dark Souls 3 engine, I can't wait to just see what it looks like, you know? But once again, thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time. I'm off to try and heal myself, I guess. Bye.